but let's get into it officially. Wolverine, my dude, that
Yeah.
is absolutely fantastic. And it's so funny because before all of this became announced, I was saying, I was like, man, we need Martin on one of these X titles. I was like, because the
Yeah.
news came out and like all these, titles are getting announced. And I was like, man, it would be so great to get Martin on one of, like, I don't know
Yeah,
what
you
title, but one of them. I need him on one of these titles. And sure enough, like it was like a day later, it was like
yeah,
Martin
exactly.
Cóccolo on Wolverine. I was like, no,
Yeah, you
no shit.
you shoot me a message and it was like, oh man, yeah, just wait, just wait.
Yeah,
I can't talk about it, but just wait. And it was like, I don't know, like 2 or 3 days after that.
yeah, it was like immediately. I was like, no, wait,
Yeah, it was
I was like, did I
immediately,
just get
and you
Martin a
were like,
job, dude? Like,
yeah. Yeah, that was awesome, man. Yeah, absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
so now you're on Wolverine, and we just talked about how big of a fan of a character of the character you are. It's going to be his 50-year anniversary, and on top of all of that, this is kind of a new resurgence for the character, not just the character, but for the X-Men in general. For those of
Yeah.
out there who don't know or maybe have not been following along, Krakoa has come to an end, so the whole Krakoa age has is over and done with, and now we move forward with our mutants in various different places. We have a fantastic X-Men main title from Jed McKay. The guys Jackson Lancet and Colin Kelly are over on NYX, which has the mutants on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. And then we have Wolverine. And on this title, so the previews on this say that Wolverine begins deep in the Canadian wilderness, where Wolverine reunites with his wolf pack and embraces the beast within. Like, oh my lord, that just sounds absolutely fantastic. And we do get this kind of setup in Jed McKay's first X-Men issue. So if y'all haven't read that, go out there, check that out. That will kind of set you up for this Wolverine run. But Martin, for your side of things, I know we cannot talk about story. We can't talk about really anything except that it is Wolverine. But
Yeah.
you, when this was announced on the article for the previews, you were quoted by saying, I could talk for hours about why I decided to take this relaunch. But my real answer, it's Wolverine. That's it.
Yeah.
And you also said that this is a dream come true. So, I mean, we may not have hours here, but we have some time. So, I get again, we kind of went through this already, and anyone out there curious, go check out our first episode with Martin to hear about his early love of X-Men. But I mean, what? How did you feel getting that call? Like I said, we kind of talked about the decision making of it, but putting the decision aside, like when it was like, oh yeah, I'm doing Wolverine, like you had to throw yourself a party, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, um I don't know, when I was a kid, I will watch, I've told you before that, I didn't have many Marvel titles available where I
Mhm.
live. um so I will read more DC stuff because that's what I had around, basically.
Mhm.
uh but I was aware, of course, of Spider-Man and the X-Men and stuff. And when Captain America, many classic Marvel characters. But when when the original X-Men series, like TV series, came out, it was like it blew,
Mhm.
it was a I don't know. It like it changed the the at least the animated landscape. I mean, it was huge. Especially, I've always been like, I don't know how to call it, like mm, a philosophical type of person. I always loved like philosophy and social issues
Mhm.
and just thinking about stuff, right? So when X-Men came out, the animated series, because again, I didn't have I was able to buy like a couple of issues when I was a kid, but I didn't I wouldn't be able to I wouldn't continue reading the stories because I
Hmm.
haven't I didn't have them. There were no internet, there was nothing.
Yeah.
It was like slim pickings will be like an understatement. It was like
Yeah.
nothing. You had nothing,
Hmm.
nothing available
It was a
back
void.
then. But when the animated series came out, I was like blown away by how mature it was,
Hmm.
and all the all the themes. I mean, even when I was like 11 years old when I watched it, but even back then I would be able to pick up stuff, not as deep as you will as an adult, but you saw that it wasn't a simple a kids TV show.
Hmm.
It was way bigger than that. um and when I saw Wolverine, was like, I mean, he's like the coolest. Uh,
Yeah.
he and and he and Gambit were for me like, I mean, they were like awesome,
Those
like
dudes.
the definition of awesome,
Mhm. Yeah.
um, and Rogue too, and that's funny because back then you wouldn't really be like fan of female characters,
Hmm.
you would gravitate to you were taught that you were supposed to like
Yeah.
male characters. And I remember thinking like, man, Rogue is incredible,
Rogue's badass, dude.
yeah, like super badass. So
Hmm.
I mean, it was like mind blowing, like
Yeah.
absolutely. So and over the years, just I kept drawing and always thinking about, man, how cool it will be to someday be able to draw the X-Men, right?
Hmm.
And Wolverine in particular.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I mean, again, no diss to any of the other X-Men. We love them all, but
yeah,
there's no denying that
yeah. I mean,
Wolverine has taken the tops, like front and center of the X-Men, especially in the last like decade. Like
yeah,
anything
yeah.
X-Men has Wolverine front and center.
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I also, you know, it's a character I particularly can relate to many all the light parts and the dark parts of Wolverine. I can actually relate. Um, so he's a very interesting and complex character, even though sometimes we think of him just like a really angry dude,
Hmm.
with a very like short temper, but he's way more than that.
Yeah.
So the idea of exploring that and going back to basics and going back to the raw and wild aspect of the Canadian, wilderness, and how it reflects um, it's a reflection of what Wolverine is as a person. I think it's like very very interesting. I've always been a huge fan of First Blood. Like the first
Oh,
Rambo
dude. Yeah,
movie.
that's one of my favorite movies.
I watched it. I was like way too young to watch it, but I did.
Same.
And uh, I've never been a fan of the rest of the Rambo movies,
Hmm.
but that the a very troubled guy who is trying to do good, but he's been dealt a very shitty hand.
Hmm.
Life has dealt him a very very shitty hand, and he's trying to go out his life doing the best he can, but society decided to make him a monster. The
Yeah.
society decided to make him an enemy. So and he's a powerful guy, but he's weak. If you're powerful but your temper is weak, you are weak.
Hmm.
So trying to do trying to do the best you can, and trying to do what's right with your power, but also with your weaknesses. I think that's very interesting. And using anger is a very intense and very helpful emotion if you are able to to make it move to healthy places. And you really, really, really need anger in your life. We shouldn't lose anger. We should be way, way more angry than we are for many things that are going on in our lives, and we are like way too calm, in my
Hmm.
opinion. So that's something to just to keep in the back burner. We sometimes we should be way more angrier than we are, and
Yeah.
sometimes we should be way calmer than we
Hmm.
are. We have a very misguided anger. So I think that's very powerful, and I think you can tell many things with those concepts and others. I've al- I have like two sides of me. The side of who enjoys like a more, a more regular fan who likes a character, but
Hmm.
I also like stories that mean something. I
Yeah.
don't like I don't like stories of a character that are just the story of that character and that's it, and they don't mean anything on you know on a more human type. I'm not very interested on characters that have absolutely no translation. Those problems have no translation to our regular lives.
Hmm.
Um, that if those kind of stories, I mean, they are fine for what they are, but if fantasy stays in fantasy, I'm kind of out.
Hmm.
I'm not that interested. Um, so when you can actually take a character and actually say something, and say it in many levels, and make it enjoyable on a pure like fan type of enjoyment,
Hmm.
but also on deeper levels, I think those work much better, in my opinion. So I think you can tell a lot of stuff, a lot of stories with a character like Logan. So I'm really excited to see what happens. Basically, I'm really excited to see
Hey,
where it goes.
you just got me even more excited, dude. That just absolutely beautifully said, and especially about just the character of Wolverine himself, because I think, like you said, a lot of people have a kind of one-dimensional view of him, which, to be fair, a lot of of the media he's been
Yeah,
in has only shown that one dimension.
yeah.
So I absolutely love the way that you talk about the character, and going off of that, that kind of brings me to one of my next questions. A very
It's like an angry dude with claws. If if you just have an angry dude with claws, you can only go so far.
yeah.
It's like, okay, but what do I do with this character who has like uh, who has been turned into a menace by society, and he has like many like he's like super mysterious. We don't really know much about his origins, or there are many blank spots in his story. So what do we do with that, basically? No. So yeah, I mean, I think
Oh yeah.
I'm not saying that my story is going exactly that way.
Mm.
I'm saying that there are many elements in this story, and I don't know what's going. That's for Saladin to decide, right?
Yeah,
But
there's
I
just a
think
lot
there
of
is,
different avenues to go.
yeah, exactly.
Mm.
I think, but at least I think it is a very very interesting character to draw and to
Mm.
interpret, basically.
So going off of that, those interpretations, how do you go about interpreting a character like Logan and adding in some of that depth? And again, not talking script or anything like that, just visually. How do you kind of approach that, and how is that different from Immortal Thor? Because we definitely have talked about, with Immortal Thor, adding in that kind of fantasy, and we talked about the first time how Al had a note like he should always be smiling, or like,
Yeah.
relatively. So, like, what were some of the differences, again, coming into Wolverine, and again adding in those a little bit more nuance than just angry guy with claws?
Mm. I think yeah, there are many. As you said, the one of the main tenets of Immortal Thor was to show him not too much brooding. We wanted to see him smile more and be uh, uh, to shine a little more, and not having make him not as dark as he was portrayed on previous iterations. In this case, I am trying to basically develop and explore the opposite. I want to see I want to see Logan, but not just making him angry all the time. How do I build a more round character? How do I show him? How do I show his tragic side? How do I show his sadness? How what fuels his anger? What about the expressions? How can I explore his expressions, and how do I show depth through his like how do I give hints of a deeper character, basically, not character as in a character, but his character. He what he is as a person, basically. So I try to explore that and use different I'm exploring certain stylistic choices that I wasn't able to do with Thor,
Mhm.
and I think that's great. I mean, there is more like darkness and more darkness, more sadness, and more anger,
Mhm.
and I try to show that with lines too. So that's what I'm exploring. I'm not like fully there yet, but I'm getting closer, because it's not you don't if there's something I've learned through many years of drawing comics, is you're you take a character, but when you first draw that character, you are not really drawing him or her as you will in uh, 4 or 5 issues, along the road. So the character grows with you as you grow with the story. So the more you move on, then the more issues you do, and I hope I get to do as many issues as possible. Then you start. Um, then it becomes like a second nature, and and you start to realize that you start to add or subtract certain details, and they work much much better with that character in particular. So right now I'm getting closer to my Wolverine, but it's evolving.
Hmm.
You don't start with it's not your Wolverine from the first time you draw him, or the second or the 10th maybe, but at some point it will become yours.
Hmm.
So that's what I'm trying to do basically. But it's very interesting and it's huge motivation. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's
And I
a
I
pleasure.
love hearing you talk about again the kind of progression of the character as you work on him. Something you touched on in the beginning of this interview with Immortal Thor about how you were in Asgard mode, like your
Yeah,
mind's in that realm, right? And
yeah,
now you're getting your mind into the Wolverine realm and Logan.
mm,
And I mean, again, we're going from space and Asgard and all that to Canadian wilderness, like very much more grounded, much more
yeah,
personal kind of place and story. And
mm,
going off, this is kind of just a cheeky question, but I think it has some validity to it. We talked about sense of scale with Tyrannos and Thor and all that. But so what's the sense of scale like going into Wolverine? Like how short is your Wolverine compared to the like how are we playing with the height in this run?
yeah. I mean, it's funny, but no, it's not as challenging. But yeah, it's also you have to you have to adapt to drawing a short character. You know, a
Yeah.
short king,
That's what
as I
I'm. That's what
say.
I'm saying. With the short king like Wolverine, like
Yeah,
when he's with other characters, and this
yeah,
isn't
exactly.
spoiling. This
You're
was in the
tempted.
previews, but there's wolves, so like how he interacts with like the animals and stuff. Like I'm sure that can
Yeah,
be challenging.
yeah, you're tempted. um when you draw comics, you are like tempted to do like an average
Mhm.
size, you know.
Yeah.
So when you have characters talking, they're basically at least there is a specific mandate to do a character like very large or very small. You kind of always gravitate to having them around the same heights, you know. So with Wolverine, yeah, I had to adapt to the fact that you want to make him shorter and stockier, you know. Um, so yeah, it took me a few pages, and the editor has to correct me at some points, and you start to fine tune until you actually you like get in the zone, and
Hmm.
again you get started, you start to think in terms of Wolverine. You
Yeah.
start to think in terms of how he's the star and he's like the main focus of the story, so everything around him has to somewhat accommodate to his height. And unless you I mean, unless you want to do something funny at some point about that. But if you're like taking it like if you're doing like a straight story, you want to have him like being the focus, and you have to work with the different heights to make everything work basically naturally. But yeah, I mean, it's again
The fun
after
challenge.
yeah, like Toranos and all that, like accommodating for Logan's height is nothing.
It's
It's
easy work. Piece of
yeah,
cake.
yeah.
I'm just so excited for this Wolverine run. And hearing you talk about it is just it makes me so excited. And we're just even talking about the art aspect. There's a whole story that goes along with it too.
Yeah,
And I gotta say too, which this may sound weird, but knowing your work, something that I am very excited for in this run are your backgrounds. I'm super excited for you to play in the wilderness. I think that's going to
yeah,
be like so cool. I already like again, obviously, you do amazing with the cosmic, we had not the Beyonder, but the big face, in Immortal
yeah.
Thor looking down and like, Toronto, these big things. But
The demiurge.
yeah, Demiurge, that's it. Thank
Yeah,
you. but I just feel like for whatever reason, like you are gonna do so, like your woods, like the woods and the like creepiness of it. Oh, it's gonna be so good. I think again,
I've
I'm
had,
like most excited for that. I think.
yeah, I've had the opportunity. There are some splash pages, like a sunrise,
Mhm.
like in the mountains, and yeah, I mean
I
it's
bet that
awesome.
was fun
So,
in itself,
yeah,
just doing like beautiful kind of landscapes,
yeah,
right?
you don't always get to just draw, there's, I mean, I enjoy everything because I
Yeah.
love drawing. So yeah, but it's always like alien looking stuff,
Mhm.
and you like space. The skies are full of nebulas
Mhm.
and moons and planets or whatever. And sometimes you get to draw like a beautiful sunrise in the mountains, and
Yeah.
the, and it's like, oh man, this is super nice, this
Yeah, I was
is
just gonna
super
say,
awesome.
like sometimes you just want to do a nice mountain range,
Yeah,
right? Like,
exactly. Sometimes all you want to do is a nice mountain. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's great. It's great.
yeah.
I mean, in that regard, I love my job.
So the Wolverine, that's going to be written by Saladin I'm sorry, Ahmed, and
Mm,
he's currently writing Daredevil, and so
yeah.
he's going to be hopping on writing for Wolverine, and that is going to be coming this September. So everyone watching and listening to this, be sure to add it to your pull list. Make sure to go pick it up in September. And my friend Martin, I just cannot thank you enough for being here with me
No,
today
thanks.
and joining me
It's
and
a pleasure.
talking about it. And I'm just so excited for you, man. I'm so excited for
Thank
your
you.
work. I'm so excited for the new title. And before we get out of here, as always, I want to throw it off to you. Obviously, we have Wolverine. Like I said, that's going to be in September. Just another reminder for y'all. But is there anything else you're working on? I mean, obviously, we can't talk.
No.
Is there any secret projects or strictly Wolverine
No,
right now?
I mean, it's consuming between. I have to. I work on Wolverine on the interiors. I also do the covers, which I didn't do, for example,
Ooh,
for Immortal Thor, because it
yeah.
was Alex Ross's job. So I'm doing the covers, and I'm also doing the Stormbreakers variants every month. So it's like all
You
day,
are
every day.
busy.
Like
Which, speaking of,
I
I gotta
don't.
say really quickly that Moon Knight one that you did was
Thank
fantastic.
you.
I absolutely loved that. I forgot to mention that
I
earlier.
have I have a couple of, be on the lookout for a couple of, one variant, one Stormbreaker variant, and one for a Spider-Man universe, I would say. So yeah, be on the lookout, because
Oh,
those are about to be released like any day now.
okay,
So
well, hopefully, maybe by the time
it,
this
it,
releases.
those are really exciting too, because you always get to draw uh, at least for one or two images a month. You get to do something completely different
Hmm.
from what you're doing. You're drawing Wolverine, and an email comes and they want, I don't know, like, I don't know, like a, I don't know, like a Moon Knight doing something,
Say,
or
trying to
Spider
think of
Man
one that you
doing
haven't
something,
done.
or yeah, or a Ghost Riders doing whatever, and you're like, okay, that's really good, because with the variants I've drawn like pretty much, and not every Marvel character, because there are, I don't know, hundreds,
Millions.
but the most notorious ones, I think I've drawn pretty much all of them. So that's really exciting too. So
Oh
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
but
Oh.
that basically consumes my whole month.
Hmm.
So no, I am, someday I will, I have had talks with writers of doing something independently in the future. So that's coming some at some point, maybe when I when I'm off my exclusivity with Marvel.
Hmm.
At some point, I might do something on the independent side, or maybe a Kickstarter. I don't know I don't know the format yet,
Hmm.
but yeah, something will come in the future. So yeah, it's many exciting stuff. Just I just need to have the time to work in all that
Yeah, just find
before
the
I
time
die,
to do it
basically.
all.
I
Well,
have
dude.
I have a finite time, so, and an infinite ideas set of ideas. So that's a problem.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Again, though, a good problem to find yourself in because you are booked and busy, my friend. And again,
yeah.
I just could not be more happy for you. And especially coming on to this new title, it's just so exciting, both as a fan of your work and just a fan of the X-Men as well. And again, I just can't thank you enough for gracing us with your time to be able to kind of put Immortal Thor to bed and again, kind of look to greener pastures for this new adventure. So, everyone out there watching and listening to this, again, make sure to pick up Wolverine this September and also be on the lookout for all of Martin's exclusive variant covers that are going to be coming because we know that they're going to be fantastic. And if you enjoyed watching and listening to this video, please consider giving us a like and subscribe. It really helps us out. Also, head on over to bcwsupplies.com and use code Sons of Mjolnir to get 10% off all your bags, boards, anything you need to collect. We have you covered. Once again, that code is Sons of Mjolnir. Thank you all for watching. I hope you have a fantastic week. I hope your stacks are fat, and I hope you stay hydrated. We will see y'all next time.